Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be going over how to bleed shocks. This is a very simple thing to do, yet something I get asked a lot here at the hobby store. So we're going to be using some GTR shocks today. I'm going to go over this real quick. Don't be afraid of this. It's really easy to do. Let me show you how it's done. For the example of this video, we're going to be using these really nice Traxxas GTR shocks. This method is going to work with any shock, even including the stock ones or any other brand. But again, for this example, Traxxas GTRs. These are a lovely upgrade for any of the Traxxas 10 scale vehicles. They also have these now for like the Mini Max and a bunch of other things. And these come on like the full-size Max in your Sledge and those types of vehicles. But to do this, we're going to remove the cap, which just unscrews. Now, if you're fixing a set of shocks, make sure that you still have the bladder up here. This is important to make sure it has a good seal. Traxxas includes a bottle of 30 weight oil with all of their shocks, especially the upgrade ones. These come with this little spout thing. I honestly never use it. I find it more annoying to use than helpful. But basically, we're going to remove the cap here. And then we're going to go ahead and fill our shock. You want it about probably 80%, 90% of the way to the top. Right about there, so you can see the fluid. And then we're going to put our piston up and down a couple times slowly. You don't want to put it up so high that the piston comes out of the fluid, because that's going to suck air bubbles in. So make sure that the piston stays in the fluid and go up and down a couple times. And what this is going to do is any air that's trapped underneath the piston is going to go through the holes of the piston and then rise to the top of the fluid. I don't know if you can see any air bubbles in there. I don't know if I can tip it over far enough, but you'll see a couple air bubbles in the fluid in the shock. So go up and down a couple times. I usually leave the piston towards the bottom, and then if you have a way to prop this up, just let it sit for about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Make sure all the air comes to the top. All right, it's been a couple minutes. I don't see any more air bubbles in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill the shock pretty much all the way to the top. Right about there. So you can still see a little bit of like a dish in the fluid. The next part is kind of important. Push the piston as high as you can get it to go, again without it coming out of the fluid, and then put the top on. These shocks have a bleeder hole up here, so you might get a little bit of fluid out the top. That is fine. Just wipe it up with a paper towel. And that's it. You can go up and down now. You can feel it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and put our springs on. We have our spring cups, and then we're going to bolt this right onto the vehicle. But that's literally the entire process. Now, if you have a shock that you haven't bled all the air out in, and hopefully I can do this loud enough so that you can actually hear it on the video, but you'll hear the air bubbles. It'll sound, squishy. You can see it's like squeaking. That's if you have not enough fluid in your shock. And when you put the rod in and out, you can kind of feel that it's not perfectly smooth. There's almost like, I just want to say it feels crunchy, because you're getting air bubbles that are passing through the piston and not causing the proper dampening effect. So that's if you don't have enough fluid in it. Now, if you have too much fluid in it, so basically if you were to fill the shock and not push the rod all the way in here, you haven't made enough space inside the shock to compensate for the rod when the rod has to go in here. So this is overfilled on purpose, and I can't actually get it to compress in. And what's going to happen is, actually this is already happening on this one because this is an old shock. You can see the fluid is pushing past the seals on the bottom of the shock. Yeah, see, it's dripping out because there's too much fluid in here, and the pressure of trying to push the rod in is going to cause it to leak. Usually it won't happen this fast. This just happens to be an old shock, but this will happen over time, and you'll notice that unlike your control arms and stuff below the shock, you'll see some of the silicone fluid coming out. But that's it. Just make sure that the rod is up. Oop, that's the wrong one. Make sure that the rod is up when you fill it up, and then you should see that the rod will still probably want to come down a little bit. That's pretty normal. Because again, there's fluid in here. You have your bladder at the top. There's still going to be a little bit of positive pressure in here when it's fully compressed, and it'll just want to go out just a little bit. But you'll know it's good because you won't hear any of the squishy. It's nice and smooth. The piston sliding up and down through the fluid, there's no air bubbles, so it's not going to have any of that crunchy feeling, and you're going to be able to compress it all the way. If you feel resistance, that's no good. If you hear a lot of air bubbles and it feels a little gritty, that's also no good. So just to recap, cap off, fill it up about 80% with the piston, go up and down a few times to bleed out the air bubbles, let it sit so the air bubbles come out, top it off, rod up, cap on. Once you do this once, it'll be really easy and you'll be a shock expert. And that's it. That's all you have to do to put together your brand new shocks. And if you haven't bought brand new shocks yet and you haven't tracked this vehicle, these GTR shocks are really nice. But yeah, that's it. So whether you're repairing or putting on new shocks, that's the entire process. So thanks for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate you. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Would love if you would do that. And I'll see you guys in the next Fix It video. Thank you so much.